To kind of follow on Paul's question, though, I am curious, what will be the, I guess, mechanism for those that want to conduct these studies, potentially going forward? How will they know, right? What are the critical parts? Well, I guess potentially output from this workshop. But you know that the GLPs, love them or hate them, it's a nice list, right? And so you can kind of go down the list and say, gosh, I don't have QA. Maybe that's a good thing to have. Um, so what will be the mechanism of industry to receive that information going forward and knowing what the full expectations are?
Sam, would you like to comment or shall I?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Well, take a look at my presentation. Both my presentations on IVRT and IVPT had delineated some of the components of the quality management system. These are the same elements that you'll find in the GLP regulations, and I want to clarify, those are regulations, right? So we have to be a little bit careful about how we apply regulations, which is why we're being careful here to say this is technically not within the scope of those regulations. It's not meant to communicate that those are no longer relevant or somehow that list of things is no longer useful. However, it's actually an effort not only to kind of have a better alignment with what is truly relevant to IVRT and IVPT, but also the issue before is in any case, you had to interpret the relevance of any GLP, whether it was, FDA GLP or it was OECD GLP, where you had a little bit more kind of ease in interpreting that because that talked about the test system. So it wasn't necessarily the animal. It was now, well, maybe the test system is, a diffusion cell. But either way, you had to interpret what the test system was. In any case, when you look at a GLP regulation, you had to interpret, well, what's the most relevant or critical parameters to make sure that this is a well-controlled study? Or when it comes to which SOPs do I need to have in place? Well, SOPs for mounting skin are not going to be listed in any GLP regulation. SOPs for barrier integrity testing, none of these, it's not going to tell you which SOPs you need in any case. So I think it's much better, much more helpful for us to intentionally purpose-fit design a discussion on quality management systems where you say, look, you need SOPs, and specifically, these are the kinds of things that you want to make sure you have SOPs for. You want to have certain elements in your protocol. For example, you want to predefine in your protocol how you handle certain situations with data, missing samples, things like that. I think this is really where our focus wants to be going forward, is saying, let's build something that is directly purpose-built for IVRT and IVPT studies. And let's begin with the framework of a quality management system that has these elements, and then what the components of those elements are, which we needed to interpret anyway, we sit together and we kind of define that as a community.
Thank you, Sam. Very well said.
Great in intention, difficult in implementation. You tell us. You have been at the heart of interpreting regulations and implementing them into systems. This is no small thing. And I think for those people who haven't gone through that, who are maybe just now, sitting down and going, okay, I need to figure out what SOPs I need in place. I need to figure out how do I put together a training program for my people? What should I have in protocols? Should we have some kind of a forms-based system where all the things that should be happening in our SOPs are there? And if the SOP says that, I record the time that something is dosed and I record the time that it's sampled, well, maybe I put a form together and it has sampling time or, dosing time, sampling time, witness, product, whatever. Is it better to use a form or lab notebooks? These are the kinds of decisions and systems that you've been putting in place to make sure that you have as efficient an infrastructure as possible. I think this is where we really need to hear from you. That's why we're having this workshop. What can you tell us about what is most useful, most helpful in implementing and building a relevant quality management system for those elements that are really critical, that are really going to impact whether the study is garbage or whether it's solid?
Is there a plan or idea of preparing a guidance specific to IVRT, IVPT?
Yes.
When?
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than
Before this decade is out.